Back with India market close right here on NDTV Profit, and let's show you the state of the market. Well, 0.25%. But I think if you pull the intraday of the Nifty, it'll show you a bit of a surge in the last maybe 30 to 45 minutes of trade. So strong showing, and right here, that's the point I'm making. The day's low was made at the start of the trading day. I think we've had a really good move and currently trading at the highest point of the day on the benchmark indices. The Bank Nifty should come up in the similar vein, as should the Nifty IT, and let's see what's happening there. The Bank Nifty is the one which is propelling the indices higher. Strong move out there to pretty much in sync with what the Nifty has done. Not so much for the Nifty IT, I presume, relative to, of course, what the banks have done. But yes, it's played its part, just that it's no longer at the highest point of the day that was hit just some time back. The mid cap and the small cap indices, and let's see what the broader end of the spectrum is doing. Well, currently at the day's high for the mid cap index, so no complaints thereof, nearly 1% higher, and the small cap index too about 0.82%. So really strong show. The market breadth, advanced decline ratio will come up on your screen in just a moment, and a strong show through the day. So the first day of the new calendar, and we've had a very solid market breadth right through the trading day, and it's maintained itself, which is quite stunning really for our markets. And before I hand it over to Samina, just a heat map to show you what's happening at the large cap end of the market. You know, so this turned around. There were more losers than gainers when we started. Right now about 31 advances to maybe 19 decliners. The top loser is Aisha, 2.38%, courtesy the news flow. Bharti Airtel down about a couple of percentage points. M&M. So autos had a really good run. It is sulking in the session today. What is doing well? The Adani Twins, Enterprises and Port, really strong show. Nestle up about a couple of percentage points. And IT is giving support, like we said. So Wipro, Tech Mahindra, HCL Tech amongst the top 10 gainers. Best stock of 2023. Tata Motors up another 1.5%. So really strong showing all across, and Reliance and HDFC Bank are not sulking big time, which is also helping. But the broader end of the spectrum, a clutch of gainers out there, Samina, because the market breadth is solid.
Interesting to also see what the VIX index is looking like, because that would give us some sense of what's happening. But yeah, like you said, it's the party continues, right? The broader market still looking as good as they have through December. We are seeing a bunch of good stocks. That's the VIX, so not too much damage on the VIX either. Trading almost flat, 14.5. But remember, we've risen from levels of 10 that we saw on the VIX in the early weeks of December. So there's a gain of nearly 40% on the VIX, but not uncomfortable in terms of an intraday move on the VIX at least. Let's take you through all the counters that are buzzing. It is sectoral rotation that we're seeing on the street. The day belongs to fertilizer stocks that I've picked up, but I'll quickly take you through a couple of big movers in the space. So anything that's auto ancillaries in focus, you've got, those are your cement, those fertilizer names that you're seeing across the board. The gains are there for everyone to see. Factors up 4%, Tata Chem is up 2.5%, Chambal is up, GSFC is up, RCF is up, NFL is up 10%, Madras Fertilizer is up over 6%. Relatively smaller sector, but in focus this afternoon, the movement clearly is very obvious amongst these fertilizer names that have seen heavy buying coming in only a few minutes ago. Well, apart from that, you've got a few other names. So take a look at auto ancillary names. From the word go this morning, JBM Auto was doing quite well. Motherson Sumi is not too far behind. Both those counters trading with marginal gains. The reason the space is looking good is on back of announcements that came in on Friday, where the government ministry has indicated that EV players, of course, and that's why they're gaining on plans where the government has indicated they're looking to switch 800,000 diesel buses to EV over the next 7 years. So on back of that, auto ancillary seems to be in a pretty sweet spot in today's day of trade. India Glycol, that's the other one to watch out for. They've got a board meeting to discuss fundraising plans. The stock is looking pretty good in trade as we speak. Big move there, 9% higher on India Glycol. Shivlik Bimetal, that's a counter to take note of. Again, this massive surge, 8.5% rally, has come in on high volumes. The stock was subdued for most part of the day, but you are seeing buying that's emerging in some of these counters. So that's largely what the broader markets look like. Stocks like Indigo also in focus on back of a jet fuel price cut that took place in Delhi. Auto ancillary is looking good. Fertilizer counters are in focus. Some of your metal names in the broader markets are also enjoying the start of the year. So all in all, it's turning out to be a solid day, Niraj. contrary to what FNO data was indicating, comfortable. VIX also not looking very uncomfortable in terms of an intraday move. So while I know there are bigger developing stories in the world, Nifty financial markets, at least in India, are comfortable this afternoon.
What a start to the series as well, Samina, for the broader end of the spectrum. 0.6% on Friday, 0.9% today. It's looking really strong. Somebody who looks at this very closely, Gaurav Bissa, Vice President at Incred Equities, joins us on the show. Gaurav, great having you. Happy New Year to you and Team Incred. How are you viewing what's happening in the markets currently? And what does it mean for people who might want to take short-term or short-term positional trades, not very long-term trades? Is it still conducive?
Good afternoon, Niraj. Very happy New Year to you, your team, and your viewers. Thank you for inviting me on the show. See, it's a very difficult question to answer. I mean, it's a very generally this is an easy question, but if you look at the current scenario where you're seeing that markets have run up so sharply, your mid cap and small cap indices are flying off the roof. So in such cases, I generally go back and sit a little bit, with a calm mind and head. The reason being that you get swayed very easily in such scenario where you have breakouts every other day. Every second or third stock is giving a breakout, and many of times the breakouts are working. But it takes only one day. If you remember a few days back, Nifty had a very strong correction. It had a 350, 400 points intraday correction. Many of the stocks corrected. Even our stop losses got triggered. So if once that scenario happens, managing your risk will become quite difficult. So to answer your question, for index level, 21,820 on a spot side is the level to watch out for. If that is taken out, probably some more upside can be seen. What is more interesting is your Nifty Midcap and Small Caps. If you look at the weekly charts of Nifty Midcap Index, Nifty Small Cap Index, both are near multi-year rising channel resistance area. For Nifty Small Cap, I would go and say that the RSI is at extremely high levels, around 80 to 83. This is the level from where we have seen multiple times some correction coming in. I'm not saying it results in a crash, but there is always a correction that follows when RSI goes to such extreme zones, and that too near a rising channel resistance area. So we are being very selective. The way we play over here is that wherever we are seeing a 3-year, 4-year, 5-year breakout, we take only those stocks to trade on a short-term trade. The reason being that if there's a 3-year, 5-year breakout, the potential of that particular pattern is say 20%, 25% upside. We are settling down for 8%, 10%, so that we don't have that much of risk also. And this breakout, the larger time frame breakout, ensures that you see a push coming in the prices, and for us that itself is fine. So that is the only setup I would say that one should be looking out. Don't look at daily charts and try to play for breakouts, because someday when there's a correction or when there's a consolidation happening, you might get stuck. So that is the strategy we are using at Incred Capital.
Gaurav, sorry, we've got 1 hour to go to closing, and euphoria buying has emerged literally less than an hour ago, right? Any trade for an hour? I know this is very tactical, very short term, but it's a trader's market from the look of it. Anything that you're picking up for the next hour, maybe, or for tomorrow?
I generally do not play for one day intraday or BTC kind of trades, but the momentum stocks, something like GNFC, where if you see, we are seeing good amount of buying interest emerging in the fertilizer stocks, and GNFC is doing quite well, trading above the swing high breakout area. So that can go towards 820, 825. So if somebody wants, one can look at GNFC for that matter. But as I said, I don't give too much of impetus on intraday. My capabilities are very limited when it comes to extremely short-term trading.
Okay. Gaurav, okay, so that's Samina putting you in a bit of a spot. I'm making it a bit easy for you. And let's talk about stocks which you would be comfortable trading from a positional, short-term, 1 to 3 days, 5 days perspective. What are the ideas for the afternoon?
The first recommendation would be a buy on CESC. If you look at the charts, yes, there has been a very strong upside, but many of the stocks have seen good upside. And they are still continuing that. And if you see weekly or monthly charts, it has seen around 15-year rising wedge breakout. And ideally, this is a very normal pattern where the major breakouts happen with very large candles. So the previous month candle was around 20%, 30%. So such kind of breakouts are very common, and it's seeing some of the follow-up buying. One can keep a stop loss of 127. play for targets of 155 that can be seen within a week. Second would be a buy on NALCO, National Aluminum, where we are again seeing very strong breakout sort of come in. Multi-year breakouts is what we are seeing right now, and volume participation has been very strong. Metal and mining space has been as such at the forefront, so that is one that is looking very interesting. The stop loss and target remains same, stop loss of 127, target of 155.
Gaurav, what are you doing with Bank Nifty for the Jan series? We saw a pretty good comeback on Bank Nifty in December. At current levels, would you consider initiating a long trade on Bank Nifty for the Jan series?
I would be inclined for doing that, but I would rather wait for a small dip. See, if you look at the daily charts, if you look at hourly charts as well, there was a very strong breakout that we witnessed in Bank Nifty futures, and there was a consolidation breakout. You can call this as a box breakout as well. It happened around 48,300, 350 futures, and currently it's 500 points away. So when you are buying futures, having a tight stop loss becomes very important. It is still giving a fresh swing high breakout, but for me, if I want to play for the entire series, I would rather play for any declines towards 48,400, then keep a 200-point stop loss and play for 49,500 kind of targets.
Okay, well, great going. And it's interesting, Gaurav is highlighting CESC because power as a space and has done really well. This is arguably probably one of those stocks which hasn't moved as much. Now, I of course, Gaurav understands charts, and that's why it is a recommendation or whatever, 155. But I remember an ISEC note a few days back, which also had a fundamental call with a target price of 150. I think it was ISEC, if I'm not wrong, and a target price of 150. So really strong showing there. But CESC, there is Inox Wind, IEX is back in the green. So clutch of these stocks have done really well for themselves in the session today as well. What is doing well though is Vodafone Idea. 2 days on a trot now, that's done well. And that is the other stock that should be kept in mind. Now, we'll get in my colleague Himansh in just moments from now to try and talk about what's happening with the stocks which are moving up on volumes. I think Himansh is with us. Himansh, thanks for joining in. And what are the key volume buzzers in the session today?
Thanks, Niraj. So on the first trading day of this year, you're seeing the likes of Shivalik Bimetals, JBM Auto, Kaveri Seeds, and so on that are buzzing on volumes that are roughly, anywhere from 4 to 18 times their 13-day averages. JBM Auto, for one, has extended its gain for the second day, and this is also up most in 19 weeks, and this comes after the price band for the counter was revised from 5 to 20%, and it came into effect today. And this, if you remember, on Friday, the auto pack was in focus after reports of government plans to replace 8 lakh diesel buses to EV, and JBM Auto, being a key player in this rapidly growing industry, is now getting all the built up interest from the investors. It was locked in upper circuit on Friday itself. Kaveri Seeds is trading higher again after scheduling a board meeting on January 5th to consider share buyback proposals. The volumes are up nearly 9 times their 30-day averages, and it's also seen an upswing of nearly 8% today. Gujarat Alkalis and Chemicals shares are trading higher after Axis Securities issued a positional buy call for a target price of 950 for this counter. Then you have Vodafone Idea that you mentioned, 2 days on a trot, and it's up nearly 30% in that span after reports of management noting that they would be infusing up to 2,000 crores into the company, and this augurs really well for the cash-strapped telecom player that also faces significant dues and a backlog of such. So on account of all these news flows, you're seeing all these volumes buzzing today.
Right. That seems like the big volume buzzers this afternoon. The market at whole is looking good. We've made a new life high. We've taken out the level of 21,801. So new record highs on the index. Breath is solid. We started off quiet, but the pickup is for everybody and anybody to see on the very first day of trading this year. Chakri Lokapriya MD of TCG AMC now joins in. Afternoon, Chakri. Thanks for joining in. It's Samina from NDTV Profit. Hope you've had a good end to the year, this market is catching most people by surprise. Most data points indicated that this could be a subdued month, especially after what we've seen last year. But the euphoria is just not ending. Sector rotation at play, volumes are looking healthy, breadth is good, broader markets are keeping themselves together. Are you a buyer in this market?
Hello and Happy New Year. And indeed, yes, I think it is time to continue buying for the simple reason that, as we head into 2024, it's going to be a big year for India elections, big year for US elections. Interest rates are close to a peak, hopefully, in the US. So that could be a turning point of lower interest rates along with lower inflation, which could spur capital spending by the large industrial groups in India who have really not spent that kind of on capex. It's only actually the mid and small cap companies who have spent on capex. So against this backdrop, as all this happens, and along with that, and later off of the year, if there is, because of the US election, there's a recovery in US discretionary spend. So you'll have both two twin cylinder of domestic pickup as well as an international pickup.
Right. Chakri, stay with us. The markets are looking good. Like we said, IT as well now, which started off quiet, is seeing some buying emerging across the board. IT stocks are trading positive. The broader markets are up nearly 0.9%. The benchmark itself trading at new highs or uncharted territories this afternoon. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll continue talking about the markets and we'll dwell deeper into today's market movements. So stay with us on the other side.
All right, back with India market close right here on NDTV Profit. And like we said, a clutch of businesses are doing really well. Now, I want to get in Chakri Lokapriya's view on Telecom, because Telecom is having a really good run today. Vodafone Idea is having a good run today, but Bharti is not. The others, Reliance is flattish in trade. Chakri, we spoke to the Telecom minister, and we'll get the comment as well. But there was this unequivocal mention that it might not be a duopoly in India, because wherever the support might be needed, there might be one. There is this whole chatter around what could happen when one of the largest entrepreneurs in the world and Vodafone Idea together. Who knows how true it is. I'm just trying to understand, when you hear things like these, and when a stock runs up 30% in 2 days, is it a cause for worry, or is it something that makes you sit up and take notice?
I think it is the time to sit up and take notice, because it can be a harbinger of change. For the simple reason, of course, Vodafone on one hand does need some amount of funding, etc. And so news around that is clearly a positive. Then over and above that, there are several countries, I think, probably about 50, 60 countries who have kind of satellite connectivity, mobile connectivity. And, that does away with a whole load of infrastructure that is needed in terms of towers, etc. But it also changes the landscape completely, dramatically, of the existing telecom players. And that requires the existing telecom players in India who also have credible plans to move in that direction. So if all this happens, indeed, it can be a very different landscape for the telecom industry, for mobile connectivity, and therefore better communication, etc., which has a multiplier effect on commerce and economy.
Okay, well, that could arguably go as a stock of the day or the stock of the last 2 days, to be very honest. This is Vodafone Idea. And my colleague Tamanna spoke to Minister Ashwini Vaishnav, about the future of Vodafone Idea and what will happen to the company once the AGM moratorium ends. Listen in.
इतना क्लियर है कि आज टेलीकॉम सेक्टर में जो अनसर्टेनिटीज़ थी, एजीआर की डेफिनेशन क्या है, स्पेक्ट्रम के यूसेज में क्या होना चाहिए, करीब 99% अनसर्टेनिटीज़ ख़त्म हो चुकी है. आज इन्वेस्टर्स टेलीकॉम सेक्टर की तरफ एक नए नज़रिए से देख रहे हैं. इस टेलीकॉम एक्ट के बाद में जो रही सही अनसर्टेनिटीज़ थी, वो भी ख़त्म हो गई है.
Sir, but to come back to the point of Vodafone Idea.
देखो वो उनके शेयर उनके मैनेजमेंट से पूछो.
Let me ask the question.
It's a listed company. I don't want to comment on it.
So just the simple point, just if I may, the government has stepped in and saved this company.
We have done whatever is supposed to be done. I don't want to comment on companies which are listed. सबके शेयर मार्केट के में prices होते हैं. I don't want to comment on any such. Whether it's a railway company or telecom company or electronics company, anything. I just don't want to comment on any listed company.
Okay. No, I want to understand, because there are concerns about a duopoly forming in the country.
अब नहीं concerns.
Okay.
अभी तो telecom sector is looking like a fresh investment cycle has already started in telecom sector.
Gaurav, do you track any of the telecom companies, any trades over here? I mean, the movement has been phenomenal over the last 2 days, 30% gains, like Niraj said, on Vodafone Idea. Any of these stocks that you'd consider trading either on the long or short side?
Well, there are not many players as such. The pure play always remains Bharti. Reliance has too many parts moving together. But for me, Bharti is something that can be kept on radar. So if somebody wants to create a short, early sense of double top formation, one can keep a stop of 1045 and be short in the name. If at a time when markets are doing quite well, we are seeing some amount of profit booking happening in Bharti. And again, like I said, it's forming early sense of double top formation. So if that indeed is the case, it can go towards 955, 960. So that can be a trader one can watch out for.
Right. That's the view coming in on Bharti. Gaurav, of course, indicating his trade on the stock. We've got another 25, 30 odd minutes to go in today's very exciting day of trade. Of course, the street was expecting it to be quiet, but it's anything but quiet. Most parts of the market are trading firm. Lots of counters gaining on volume. Smaller sectors like fertilizers also, and media stocks and focus stocks like NDTV are up about 5% as we speak. We'll take a break, but on the other side, we get to the top buy today's sell calls for tomorrow. Welcome back. The markets are holding themselves together at new record highs. The breadth is good. Broader markets are looking good. Most sectors are trading firm, barring the auto pack, which has a few cuts. But from pharma to IT to fertilizers to cement, it's pretty much a sea of green. Agam is standing by with more details on this. Agam, when we spoke at 8:30 a.m. this morning, it seemed like the gains would be capped. It was going to be a tight trading range. Excitement would have been limited. When we spoke at 10:30, things hadn't changed significantly, even though they were looking a lot better. At 3 o'clock, a very different picture what any of us anticipated or guessed.
Yeah, certainly. And, it's taken everyone by surprise because new life highs and, in fact, an increase in a lot of positions as we move into trade. So it does seem like we're starting the month along with the year with a rather positive note, because even as the index advances by around 0.3%, and on an absolute basis it may not look like much, but do remember we're coming on the back of already made new life highs, which is why, and besides that, we're seeing an increase in open interest of 1.5% towards longs. So it does seem like there are traders out there who don't believe that the top's been made, at least for now. The Bank Nifty, the picture isn't very different. We are looking at a 2.3% increase in open interest towards fresh longs, even as the underlying advances by around 0.2 of a percentage point. What really did happen in the morning when it comes to the options market is that the lower end of the spectrum moved higher. And you can see here, while we are starting to see a lot more writing around the 21,900, 22,000 marks, and that is something on expected lines, because a lot of traders have been talking about the fact that you could in fact go into some heavy resistance around those levels. If you consider the overall open interest distribution for the Nifty, that is where it will become evident, where the lower end of the range has now moved higher to around 21,700 from 21,500 previously. That was on Friday. So a 200-point up move there. And of course, on the higher end, we continue to see 22,000 as the one with the maximum open interest. So that will serve as a little bit of a range as far as this week is concerned. Let's talk about stocks then and see where we are, in fact, looking at longs building up. Delta Corp, Gujarat Gas, and Zydus Life, where we have continued advances coming through. And Eicher Motors under a tad bit of pressure. So that also is looking at short. And of course, Balrampur Chini continues to remain in focus, with the updates going on around C molasses and B molasses. And in terms of stocks which are seeing unwinding in trade, and this is early days, so we won't see too much unwinding coming through. Tech Mahindra, Bank of Baroda, Sun TV, Balkrishna Industries, all of them looking at about a short covering. And Metropolis, while it did see a marginally red, I wouldn't necessarily call this, longs and winding, even though the underlying is, declining marginally. So on the whole, the market breadth is certainly, looking positive. And, I reckon that the markets feel that there is more legs to the rally, at least in the near term. It's a wait and watch on that one.
Yep, thanks a lot for that. And interesting data out there on a clutch of pockets. It's actually very widespread, you have to admit there, and which is the telling point. But like we said, markets at record highs, mid caps doing really well, trading really strongly. And across the board, I think you're seeing some serious buying in trade, including healthcare today, by the way. I must mark this. So Jubilant Pharma Nova is up 6%. Fortis is up 5%. Wockhardt is up 10% as well. So there's a clutch of these stocks which have done really well for themselves in the session today. 11%, for a Wockhardt. Chakri, a sector which was completely out of favor till at least October or thereabouts, has suddenly come back and is making its presence felt. Selectively, I might add, but is making its presence felt. What are your thoughts on healthcare at large?
Within healthcare, if you look at the hospital space, I think they're firmly well placed. If you look at the EBITDA margins are improving, occupancies are improving, and pricing is improving. And, usually during when an economy is beginning to recover, consumers of healthcare, are feeling more secure, therefore, about their own personal paychecks, and are able to go and do elective surgeries, elective healthcare checks, which otherwise they wouldn't have. So usually, this is a time, coming off Corona, etc., last 2-3 years. I think, the hospital space looks for better margins, therefore higher multiples.
Well, so Fortis is up. I don't know if Apollo Hospitals is doing as well today. Should pull up that stock as well. But those are the set of stocks. So Fortis, Apollo Hospitals, amongst others. Even Dr. Devi Shetty's, I'm forgetting the name of the stock, unfortunately. Narayan Rudalaya, that's not doing as well, but some of the others most certainly are. So that's one pocket to monitor in this session. While we're talking about winners, there's a bit of a pause that autos have taken today. I don't know if we asked Gaurav about the auto names, but Gaurav, just come in on the step back in autos on day one. Now, they've had really good last 3-4 years. Would you use dips to add on to autos, or are there better pockets to bet on?
I would not refrain from buying auto, Niraj. They have done quite well. And it's not about just doing well. We have seen consistent outperformance in auto. Auto, in fact, was the first major index to see a strong upside, strong reversals, and strong outperformance. And that has continued. In last few sessions, yes, there has been some mellowed down approach, but overall the fact remains that autos are looking strong, and selectively autos are down. So if you look at Ashok Leyland, it's trading in the day high. So for me, stocks like Ashok Leyland is a buy. If you look at the weekly charts, if you look at daily charts, if you look at the monthly charts, in all time frame, the stock looks positive. There was a good breakout retest that happened at the 165, 170 odd level. It can easily go towards 200, 210 on a very immediate basis, and the longer term targets can be quite large. So in my opinion, autos selectively are looking good. Something like Eicher Motor, that is one that was on my radar. It has moved lower today, but in a move above levels of 4150 again, I think that can also be a buy. So they are just looking a short temporary phase of profit booking. Overall, I'm expecting them to do well again in next few trading sessions.
Chakri, we've talked about a bunch of sectors. One space that hasn't really seen any interest or participation in the last leg of the rally, which was of 2023, and I'm going to be very clear when I say that, which what I mean is between October to December, has been specialty chemical stocks. Now everything is running up. Do you think while the recovery there might be still 2 quarters away, it may not be such a bad idea to start building your specialty chemicals portfolio? And if the answer to that question is a yes, then top 3 chemical names you'd buy.
Specialty chemicals, as you rightly pointed out, they're still a couple of quarters away. Maybe it's 3 quarters away. And, in anticipation of that, the valuations have actually kind of creeped up. So the valuations are not really that attractive. So what we need to see is a pickup in the overall order flow, which has not happened. And against this backdrop, I think maybe selectively 1 or 2 companies, but the main lines, like the SRFs, we would continue to stay away. And as a sector as well, I think it's still premature to get into the chemicals as a space.
Right. Gaurav, any specialty chemicals names that you would consider adding to your portfolio on the long side?
I'm waiting for some more confirmation. I'm very bullish on chemicals overall, and I feel while 2023 was the year of value stocks, 2024 will be more of cyclical stocks. So in my opinion, the cycle of chemical stock is doing well now. Deepak Nitrite was my first choice. It's moved up now, and we have recommended Deepak Nitrite, Lakshmi Chemicals, not solely the specialty chemicals, but overall chemical space of various different streams that are looking quite well. So in my opinion, some of the other day, we'll see very strong movement coming in. So chemical is one that one should be watch out for. And there are 4 or 5 stocks which are looking very interesting.
Gaurav, sorry, did I hear you say Lakshmi Chemical, Lakshmi Organics as one of the names?
Yes. So it's, I think, Lakshmi Organic and Chemical, something like that, LXCHEM. So that is one that is looking quite interesting. If you look at the weekly chart, it has confirmed trend reversal. Similar kind of trend reversal was seen in Aarti Industries, and you can see from 480, 490 when we gave to our clients. It's at 620, 630 something. So we have seen a very strong, I'm not saying it will have similar kind of very sharp upside, but the fact is that it has reversed its downtrend. That itself is a very big sign that, now we can have a very long-term uptrend sort of coming in. So there are certain names which are looking very good at this point in time, certain others which will need some more trigger. But in my opinion, worst seems to be over for chemical names. We are in for a very strong upside. So for example, Gujarat Fluorochemicals, it's seen a good breakout. Any declines of say 4-5% from here would make it an interesting buy. So when people say what to buy now, or when our clients come to us getting fresh money, we generally look for themes which are looking good, or sectors or indices which are looking good. So chemical as a theme is looking very interesting now. Even if there's a correction coming in market, at some point we will see some profit booking coming in. Even if there's a 10-15% drop coming in mid cap or small cap space, I think that will be more beneficial to chemicals, which will not correct that sharply and also provide good buying opportunities.
Right, that's Laxmi Organics stock that Gaurav Bissa thinks is indicating to a good sort of runway on the stock, a long call coming in on Laxmi Organics, technically and fundamentally as well. Chakri giving this a thumbs up. In the meantime, 21740, we're off the day's high point, but like I've said, they're still looking good. Auto stocks are under some pressure, so Bajaj, Aisha are trading weak. You've also got HDFC Bank, Hindalco, some of those stocks that are not looking too good in today's trade. Auto sales is one of the big triggers that's driving those auto counters lower, but apart from that, most of the names looking positive. Stocks are of the day's high point, Niraj. Surprising, right? Yeah, in the last 5 minutes, we've come well below 21,800, and a couple of those broader markets have also started seeing profit taking. A little bit nervousness. I don't know. Too early to call anything, but it's interesting of what's happening.
Yeah, just a sharp move down. I wonder. I mean, I think banks could be the one. If you can pull up the intraday of HDFC Bank, I think that would be interesting to see. I'm just trying to see what the heavyweights are. So Nifty
Sensex
Bank
is turned red.
Yes. So HDFC Bank has just come off a cliff. Otherwise, yeah. So I mean, looking at heavyweights, right? HUL down, LT down, but it's probably got to do with Bank Nifty and HDFC Bank. Let's just pull this down. Gaurav, quick thoughts here. Anything that caught your eye except for HDFC Bank and Bank Nifty? I don't know if there's something else which is also becoming a problem, because Reliance is certainly not in the list of the losers.
It is more to do with how the HDFC Bank is performing. If you see last 5-7 days, it is even more important, because that was a time when just before the expiry, HDFC Bank was single-handedly giving strong push to Nifty, supported by ID space. So in my opinion, we are seeing some profit booking on that part, and the rise that we witnessed, 1 hour rise, in my opinion, it is more to do with maybe some short covering in the option side, where people were compelled to cover the portions. Rather, if you don't see too much of buying. So you have been following markets for long. You know that when there's a 100-point rise from low levels, it should ideally be followed by fresh buying. There has to be some volumes that was missing. So it was more about price that is being pulled higher. The ground reality remained the same. So in my opinion, it's more of a coming back to the normalization part. Also, if you look at Nifty, as I said, 21,820, that is the level from where we may see some profit booking, and exactly from those levels we have seen on the spot side that some amount of profit booking has been seen. So in my opinion, it's more of a normalization, and we may see some more profit booking, and the indices are as such trading with divergence in RSI on daily charts. So till when will this last? Exactly difficult to say. Top kahan banega? It's impossible to say. But I think in 21,820 is the level that one should be watching out for. If that is taken out, probably a dash towards 20,000. If not, some profit booking most likely will be seen next 2 or 3 days.
You know what's interesting is we are back to where we opened trade this morning. So we opened around levels of 21,730. That's literally where markets kicked off trade to start the year. And we are back at those levels after rallying up all the way to 21,820. It's nearly an 80 to 100 point fall from the intraday high that was made on the street. Bank Nifty as well has turned negative. Gaurav did indicate that there is some pressure across some of those names like HDFC Bank. But it's mixed, right? So you've also got Alchem, KPIT Tech that's down 1.5%, Coforge, Dixon, Delivery, Nykaa are some of the names in the broader markets that are looking a little weak. Lupin, Persistent. maybe this could, Niraj, I'm just trying to make sense of this. It'd be interesting to see how Europe is opened now. Maybe that tsunami in Japan, maybe some concerns that are catching up on the street, because I can't for the life of me figure out what's just happened, but it is taking a bit of a break. Chakri, we have a few minutes to go before we start wrapping up today's trade. Just getting beyond this, anything more strategic? Any stocks, any sectors that you're bullish on that you recommend investors could look at adding to their portfolio right now?
Industrials, defense, railways, they've all had a phenomenal run in 2023. So pockets of within finance, within financial services look strong. The likes of the large caps of the SBI, the PSU banks, they still have very reasonable valuations, attractive balance sheets. Bank of India, Union Bank. Now, Power Finance and REC, despite the huge run-up, still trade at about only 1.2 times book. And, these are long-dated book if you're talking about infrastructure, power financing. And then you can't value them on FY25 or 26. So if you fast forward FY26 or 27, I think the valuations are still very, very attractive.
Nifty is corrected. The broader markets are still actually holding up. So the mid-cap and the small-cap index are still trading in positive territory. Gaurav, Adani stocks are in focus today. The whole pack is up 4-odd%. It's off the day's high point there too, but still 2 to 3% gains. But this is also a turnaround story of sorts, right? We've seen huge buying. The news flow has been very positive. The stocks are all looking very well placed. If you had to trade an Adani counter, which one would it be? And what would the trade be?
First, we have been avoiding the Adani group of stocks, not because things were looking bad. The structures were also positive, but the volatility was so high that managing volatility on the individual part becomes quite difficult, quite challenging at times. To answer the question that what stocks will be looking good, for me, there's just one stock that is giving a very clear signature, signs rather, that is Adani Ports. A good swing high breakout, retesting of those swing high breakouts, and now sustaining above those levels. So in my opinion, Adani Ports is what one can focus on, keeping a stop loss of 990, which if sustained can go towards 1120, 1150. So for me, Adani Port has the most lucrative, most interesting structure among the Adani group of stocks.
Do you track Dalmia Bharat? There's been an upgrade on the stock from Motilal Oswal, and the stock is up for almost 4%. Dalmia Bharat and BHL, I'm not sure if you've talked about BHL.
Is it for me?
Yes, Gaurav.
I'll answer about BHL first because it was part of our report. We recommended 75 for targets of 230. We have booked some profits at a little lower levels. But for me, I would not recommend fresh buying, but if somebody has already bought, can keep holding it, keep riding it. But fresh buying is not advised at this point in time. As far as Dalmia Bharat is concerned, if you look at the daily or the weekly charts, it is coming near the confluence of resistance, which is placed at levels of 2,400. So for me, it's a buy once it sustains or once it trades about 2,400. We are at the level where you just saw that Nifty was up 100 points, now it's down 100 points from top. So such kind of volatility. So you need to be very careful about what kind of breakout stocks you are selecting, because if there is rejection coming in, any rejection from a breakout area can be detrimental, and you can see very swift downside coming in. So for me, I wouldn't like to preempt a breakout in Dalmia Bharat. Rather, I'll give away a couple of percentage points and buy when it confirms a breakout about 2,400.
Okay. Well, before we take in the final call from Gaurav, just a closing comment or a closing thought from Chakri. Chakri, been a not so great year for financials. I wonder if when you are doing your portfolio, do financials get a high priority, or are there other themes which get this? Why or why not?
2023, we largely stuck with NBFCs and the power financing companies like REC, Power Finance. We stayed away, and in fact, we don't hold HDFC Bank at all for the first time in the last couple of decades, I would say. And I don't think that change is happening anytime soon, in the sense that we will wait for the first peak of interest rates to happen and start moving down. And of course, HDFC Bank has some merger company-specific issues. Nothing great, but its valuation is kind of right up there. So I think, that tweak the initial rush of capex will be in the PSU banks, continue to be. So I think that's the space that we're in, and we continue to see value.
Right, that's the space we will continue to see value. Some of these cement names are also looking good. So Sagar Cement, Dalmia Bharat, all the counters in the cement pack are seeing very, very sharp gains in today's trade. Anywhere in the range of 3 to 5% is the sort of gains we are seeing for cement stocks. Europe has opened up. Those markets also looking pretty good. In fact, it's a positive bias trade for global cues as well. So if you're watching out for triggers that are coming in, they're mostly positive, pretty much in line with what we started off today's day of trade. Gaurav, as we wrap up or getting close to wrapping up today's trade, any strategies that we've not talked about that you would like to recommend on the show?
Well, as far as indices are concerned, as I said, any rise towards 21,800 can be looked upon as a shorting opportunity, not being very aggressive, but keeping a 50-60 point stop loss and playing for 110 points target. That can be one strategy. For stock specific, as I said, one needs to be a little bit careful. The stocks that are giving breakout, if they are again coming below the breakout area, things might not sound that fine. So for me, at this point in time, probably one can look at Engineers India, which we did not speak about earlier. That is getting a good breakout. Somebody with a horizon of say 10, 15, 20 days can buy, keep a stop loss of 7-8 rupees and play for another 15-20 points target. So for me, Engineers India is another one that can be kept on radar.
Okay, we will watch out for this. PSU, very interestingly. So that's the key thing. Well, one more question. I believe we've, Chakri Lokapriya, we've thanked him, but Gaurav, the PSUs which have had a really good run thus far, and I think a lot of people are turning skeptical on some of those because of various reasons, including what happens around disinvestment, so on and so forth, and could they come under a bit of a cloud. Now, I see you recommending a PSU. I see you have a slightly different view on a BHEL, but a clutch of others out there too. Is there an upside resistance zone that you think these guys will hit? For example, you're recommending a 4-5% upside, if I'm not wrong, on Engineers India. But is that the final limit, or do you think some of these stocks can do even more longer term?
It's an interesting question, Niraj, that you asked, and something which was part of my presentations to many of the fund managers of India, my technical presentations, that they have history of not performing, spiking up very fast and then fizzling out. Why I feel this is going to be different this time around is because when we had a similar kind of bull run in 2013-14 also, in PSU I'm talking about, at that point in time the index itself was not giving a breakout, which is the Nifty PSE index. 5 or 6 months back, we came out with a report, technical report, stating that there's a 15-16 year breakout in Nifty PSE index at 4,500, 4,600 something, and our targets were 13,500 for the next 2 or 3 years, and we stick to those targets. And this is the time that we are seeing not just the breakouts in the individual stocks, individual counters, but also in the index. That makes it more interesting, because if your index is going strong, then your job is very easy. You just need to find out the stocks that are going to outperform when your major index is also already giving a breakout. So this is a 15-year breakout. There will be corrections. So many of the stocks have run up 100%, 80%, 70%. So of course, if there's a correction coming in markets, they will also get 10, 15, 20%. And that is the reason I said that I will not be buying PFC, RSC, BHEL at this point in time. To answer your second question, something like Engineers India, we have recommended to our clients for 100% upside. But since here you asked me for what can be the stock for next 10 days, so I have given, like I told you, that I am looking at a simple strategy. The major breakout, play for 5, 7, 10% target. The chances of hitting targets becomes higher. So on that perspective, I give a very small target. Otherwise, whether you're talking about National Aluminum, which we have recommended for being a double, MOIL, which we have recommended for being a double, Engineers India, GAIL, for that matter, all of these stocks we are playing for 100% upside, maybe more than that. So that is the kind of strategy we are using at Incred Equities. But for short-term traders, you will have a smaller stop loss, smaller targets. But for me, if I were to be an investor or a buyer, I would not like to trade in these names, right? Because the potential is just too much, and you tend to miss out. So we recommended NMDC some 10 days back. at 165. It's 215. We have not booked a single share, right, for our clients. But if somebody would have done only for trading, he would have missed out on this entire rally. Same is with Hindustan Copper. We recommended 200 rupees. It is 270 right now. We have not booked anything, right, because we feel that it can go towards maybe 320, 350. So we'll book out at higher levels. Of course, we'll also try to trim because everybody has limited cash. So we need to keep churning. But for me, if you are using mega breakouts for trading, you miss out on the true potential of that particular setup. So for me, these are very high conviction setups which can give you significant, they can create wealth. So I'm not talking about making money. I'm trying to differentiate that these stocks can create wealth. So these stocks can do very well from here. Probably your PFC, RAC, they might do better, but they will have a backseat. The outperformance will now come from these set of stocks.
Okay. And fair point. So in some of the stocks like Moil, for example, Gaurav Bissa is talking about significantly higher targets as well. But I must say, just before we wrap up, we need to talk a bit about the losers because banks have just come off. I know Samina asked Gaurav about a Nifty bank strategy. I think it was an apt question at that point of time. It's come off quite rapidly, Gaurav. Does the sudden collapse make you think that you might want to maybe even take a short trade? It's unheard of in the last few days, but I'm still asking you on the bank Nifty in particular.
To be honest, no. The reason being, Niraj, that as I said, that if there's a breakout, a retest of the breakout is the safest kind of strategy. So how would I want to play it if it falls, say, another 30-40 points from here, Bank Nifty futures, and tomorrow I'm talking about, then and if it sustains those levels, then for me, I can have just 100 point, 200 point stop loss, and I can play for 1,000 point target. If I'm wrong, if it indeed is failing the pattern, I don't lose out too much. But if it sustains, I can have a very exceptional risk reward. So for me, breakout retest is the safest pattern out there. That is my opinion of last 15 years in the market. And for me, Bank Nifty is coming at a very lucrative buying area. So I would not be creating a short till the time Bank Nifty does not give a close below, say, 48,100 futures. I would not be creating a short. For me, if I want to short, I would use Nifty futures for that. Whereas I said, where the RSI is in our favor, it's trading in the resistance area. So for me, that is an issue. But for Bank Nifty, I think that is the only saving grace that Nifty can have at this point in time. Also, just before we wrap up, if you look at last 2 days, today and yesterday, we are forming two dojis. If we are closing around flattish, we'll have two dojis. So tomorrow is going to be a very crucial day. If we are closing below today's low, then that may be start of a very short-term 3-4 day downtrend.
Okay, we'll watch out for this very, very closely. Gaurav, take a moment to thank you for joining in today and giving us your thoughts. Really appreciate your time. And watch out for tomorrow's date in particular. I think we'll try and cover some of this on the trade setup tomorrow as well. But let's start wrapping up the markets for you. And this red, you can see, it doesn't seem alarming individually. But if you look at this, just the kind of fall that we've had on the Nifty, very sharp. The Nifty bank as well has actually had an even sharper fall. Again, just a 0.5% correction can happen on any given day. But just the point, the ferocity with which it fell in the last few minutes of trade is a bit disconcerting. Wonder what's happened here. Difficult to pinpoint a cause right now. I think maybe some news flow will come later on. Let's see if it does. Or maybe it's just a technical pullback. Let's wait and watch. Mid caps and small caps, let's see if they have been unscathed. No. Obviously, nothing is, and all the indices have actually come off. It's a very steady rise. Me and Samina were talking at the start of the show that how is it that the markets are behaving this way, and we've had this bit of a gash. Just pull up the heat map and just show you. This is, of course, even Stevens for the reds versus the greens, and FMCG is right up there, Nestle. But Adani Port and Adani Enterprises, which are up 3.5%, are now less than 2%. IT is still okay. But we've had an issue with banks. ICICI is in the red, yes. But Eicher Motors, Bharti Airtel, Mahindra & Mahindra, Bajaj Auto, there's weakness in Hindalco. But somewhere in this list of reds is HDFC Bank. Right here, it is down about 1%. It was not there in this list, and suddenly it's just come off. And that is what is bringing the Bank Nifty, or has brought the Bank Nifty down in the session today. Let's see, tomorrow will be an interesting day of trade. Broader markets too, Samina, correcting, but still holding up well.
They are. No, they're not doing as badly as things changed across the, the Nifty itself. I'll quickly highlight a few of the losses that have come through. So the financial space is looking quite weak, like you said. So Chola is down 3%. So it's a mixed bag, but I'll take you to the top losers across the Nifty 100 stocks. Aisha Motors is down about 3%. Bharti Airtel has seen a cut of about 2%. Trent, M&M, so autos also weak today. Bajaj Auto, McDowell's, Marico, Hindalco, HDFC, like Niraj mentioned, Jindal Steel, Muthoot Finance are some of the counters that are seeing some weakness. Even sectors like fertilizer, which was seeing very, very sharp gains, have eased off a little bit from the day's high point. So there are very few stocks that are going home at the day's highest point, even across the other spaces. So you had auto ancillary that was in a sweet spot. If we can just quickly pull up JBM, Motherson Sumi, these were counters that started the day off on a strong note. Still going home positive. I mean, it's still going home with 11% gains. It might be off the day's high point, but still turning out to be quite a gainer in the session. Motherson as well, not too far behind. A quick check on the fertilizer names. So FAG, GSFC, if we can pull all those ones up, we'll get a sense of how good the fertilizer pack looked today. Like I said, they're off the day's high point. In fact, pretty much going home at their day's low for a lot of these counters. So GCFC is up, going home with gains of 13%. FACT, RCF are all looking good with gains. It's pretty solid gains in today's trade. Cement, that was a space we have been tracking in the last 1 hour. Gains over there too. So Sagar Cement up 12%. Dhampur had a board meeting, is expected on fundraising plans. So that counter was in focus in early trade this morning, up 5% in the session. So all in all, it's a flat day. The market saw a large fall, like Niraj indicated. It was all very quick. I think it was the sheer time in which the markets went off by 100 points is what could have made the street a little nervous. Bank Nifty as well, dropped off quite sharply. 48,234 is where we are at. And the Nifty itself made a new intraday high of about 21,820. We slipped pretty sharply from that. It's about 80 points off the day's high point, which was made less than half an hour ago. With that, we're completely out of time, but we've got a lot more lined up on the channel, so stay tuned for a lot more.
I'm ready. The markets looked slightly, sorry guys, we'll have to start again. I forgot to time myself. 1 second. Give me the count again. Good day for the markets at large, except for what happened in the last half an hour of trade. So when you see this post-close, you will see that the markets have ended in the green and all will seem kosher. But if you look at the intraday of any of the indices, Nifty, Bank Nifty, mid caps, small caps, what have you, and you will see a very sharp gash in the latter half of trade, which was a bit of a worry. Nifty Bank down about 0.12% as well. And just a brief mention of the intraday of any of the indices, like 0.57% higher, but it was up about 1% at a point of time. But just one intraday chart of any of the indices, and that's symptomatic, or that depicts what happened in any of the major indices. हाँ बोलो क्यों दिखाओ एक मिनट just show. हाँ दिखाओ हाँ तो ठीक है ना ये हाँ this is okay. Let's take it. I'll talk to him later. चलो हाँ so just put one intraday chart wherever. Okay चलो हाँ कुछ किसी का भी देना, not a problem. Three stock. I mean, क्या three stock? I want the Nifty intraday right up before we go to the heat map. Cool? Well, the markets had a decent outing, you would have to say, today, but for what happened in the last half an hour. So when you look at this, it'll look okay. When you look at the mid-cap index, for example, it'll look okay, about 0.5% higher. So that looks okay. Small caps look okay as well. But the banks is where the problem is, because that will be the first sign of red on the screen. And if you just look at what the Bank Nifty did, or HDFC Bank did to the markets intraday, you will see what I'm talking about. This is the Nifty Bank, and look at how sharp a crash it had in the last half an hour of trade. This was what spoiled the peace for the markets at large today. Now, the advanced decline ratio might also have corrected a little bit, but let's get the heat map up on the screen. Okay, the advanced decline ratio, and thank you for pulling that out. But look at this contraction that happened. Again, the last half an hour is when this change happened. Let's pull up the heat map on the screen. More losers than gainers. And the gaining part was held aloft by a Nestle and some IT names like Tech Mahindra, as well as HCL Tech. Adani Port and Adani Enterprises were up 3% at a point of time. The last half an hour they came off. But ahead of Adani Port's board meet, tomorrow, I think these stocks did okay for themselves. What lost out? The principal culprit was HDFC Bank, down about 1%. It's a heavyweight, and it really pulled that indexes down in the last 30 minutes of trade. But autos sulked in trade. There was Eicher Motors, Mahindra and Mahindra, Bajaj Auto amongst the auto heavyweights, which were soft for a better part of the trading day today. The broader end of the spectrum was also punctuated by gains to specific PSU names in particular, but in general rather. But a lot of other names also came up in conversation today, particularly from the power space as well. So the mid-cap and the small-cap indices had a good day of trade. I think tomorrow's trade and what we do in the first half is very, very important. If we form a lower low than today's low, then that could open a bit of a wall of worry in the first week of the new calendar. Thank you.